Hey there, welcome to the channel. If you're a regular follower of ours, this video is going to be a little bit different than what you usually see us do, which is bring a car in, do a paint correction, some detailing work, and then put some protection down and send it out. And that's one part of our business, but we have another part which is managed restorations, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing with this absolutely beautiful little E30 318i. The car has recently been bought by the owner and now he just wants to make it the perfect example that he's sort of always been after. And that's where we can step in with our years and years of experience and all of the contacts that we've built up. We can take this project on board, get everything arranged, and then deliver a final result to the customer. So a little bit different than what we normally do. Probably going to be a little bit of a longer video. There'll be some paintwork done on this vehicle. Wheels are going to get refurbed. But let's do a quick brief walk around of the car and then we'll explain the process a bit further. So where do we start with this? First things first, we've assessed what needs painted on the car, mostly for corrosion. If it's an older BMW, corrosion is definitely going to be a thing. And at the end of the day, this is a 1990 vehicle and it's going to have had paint work and all sorts of things over the years of its life. So we're going to get this bonnet painted first. There's micro blistering in it. You can see the finish is quite dead, but there's also some corrosion just in and around this swage. So that's going to get tackled with the paint shop. Then we also have these mirrors getting painted. You can see they're sort of delaminating and around the edges, so paint both mirrors. And then we have a little bit of corrosion on this wheel arch here, very minor, but might as well get it sorted at this stage. And then when we follow it round, we have a very deep scratch that just is not going to be possible to fix. And then there's another little bit of corrosion on this quarter panel on this side too, but it's a nice little car, but it definitely needs some help. What we're going to be doing after that then is wheel refurbishment. They're just a little bit tired, so we're going to be sending those out to our guys and doing a full refurb on those. They're going to look absolutely mega whenever they're finished. Then it's paint correction time, restore all the black trims in the car, and we'll just give it the love that it needs and get it looking perfect again. So lots of dirt and stuff built up in around these seams. We're actually going to be replacing this sunroof seal as it's a little damaged and weathered, and while you can still get availability of these things, it makes sense to do so. So I know this is a little bit different than our normal format, but I think this car's got awesome potential. There's a few trim pieces to be replaced, these bumper corners, and then all of the plastics we're going to be getting or plastic restoration treatment just to leave the car looking really fresh. Then it's going to be getting paint correction, ceramic coating, and just basically making the car look as good as possible. Then the interior, the owner is having some trimming and stuff done, but the rest of it we're just going to give a really good deep clean and restore the finishes. He has a new gear knob, new handbrake gear, the steering wheel's getting trimmed, and there's a bit of retrimming being done to the seats, and then just get rid of what is, well, many years of grime at this point. The car seems pretty mechanically sorted, and that was one of his pluses for buying the vehicle. So yeah, there's our starting base. First things first is getting this round to the body shop. So it's only a very short drive from here, but I'm going to very much enjoy it. I love E30s. So body shop's probably going to have this for about 2 weeks, and then we can get stuck in with the rest of it. We'll try and do some updates with them as and when it goes. So finally, we have the E30 back from the body shop. In the end, we painted both quarter panels on the car. There was a corrosion issue in one, which is not uncommon with an E30, and then a blemish and scratch that was just too much for us to machine polish out, and it was going to rob otherwise what's going to be a really pristine little car. We painted the mirrors and we painted the bonnet, as you'd seen. So now it's time for us to do our end of things. This is going to be a very, very involved project. We're going to be doing full paint correction on this, ceramic coatings. We're going to be reviving all of the trim on the car, and possibly refurbishing these wheels. We're going to do a full decon on them and see what we're left with. We've got some chassis detailing. It's going to be a big, big job. Me and Stevie are both going to tackle this car, and you're probably looking at 3 12-hour days for the both of us on it. The first thing we have to do, get the car out, do a decontamination wash, and see what we're left with. It actually feels pretty free from bonded contamination, so we might get away with not having to clay this car. Definitely wouldn't be claying any of the repainted panels anyway, but if we can get away with being, a chemical decontamination, that's going to be ideal. There's going to be lots and lots of machine polishing with this car, and it being this old, it's going to be tricky. We're going to have to be very, very careful. But let's get the decon wash out of the way and see what we're left with once that's done. Now that intensive wash process is complete, now we can see what we're working with. Well, we have a lot to do here, and there's not going to be any one right way to go about this car. so much of it has been painted over the years, and that's something really you have to take into consideration. When you're doing a classic car, you tend to find there's three types. There is the car that is all original, never been painted, cherished car, and that can present its own unique challenges. Then you get the car that's just been fully restored, a fresh repaint, and all we're doing there is correcting the body shop defects and then protecting the car and buttoning it up. You've seen us do that in quite a few before on the channel. And then there's this type, which is a car that has been used throughout its whole life. It's been enjoyed. It hasn't been a garage queen, and as such, it's been painted as and when it's needed it as the years have went on. And it kind of leaves us with a bit of a patchwork quilt when it comes to picking what's going to work with the car. Now, one thing's for sure, it's a solid red, and we have painted quite a bit of this ourselves at this stage. So we'll start around with foam first of all. The painted panels that we've had done really don't need a lot of work. It's really just taking out some of the usual buffer trails and things you would get from the body shop after they're finished with their polishing. The rest of the car, well, we're mixing it up with some panels that are clear coated. There's some single stage paint as well. So it really is just going to be take it bit by bit and see what happens. It's best in these scenarios always to start with the lightest and work our way up. So Stevie's going to take one side, I'm going to take the other, and we're going to see how we get on with it. Hopefully, it's going to be a huge improvement to the car. And I'm being fairly realistic here about the correction level. What's safe, we'll just have to assess that on a panel by panel basis. But really, 60, 70, 80% correction, that's really probably as good as it's going to be. Still go look amazing when it's finished though, and that's what it's all about. Let's get stuck in and see just how good it can look. So that was a pretty hectic few days of heavy paint correction on the car. And well, it turned out to probably around a 65 to 70% correction level. As I said before I even started into this car, when it's something that's been used and enjoyed throughout the years, it hasn't been a garage queen, it's been tucked away with super low miles, it's been used, it's been enjoyed, it's been painted as and when it needed it over the years. Well, that really all plays into a big factor of what we can do in terms of defect removal. So I've pushed it as far as is safe to. Some stuff just is not possible to deal with. It's underneath the painted surface now. But I'm kind of making it sound like the car doesn't look great. It really does. It's still a huge transformation to the finish of the car. And well, with an older car like this, it's not just defect removal that we're going to focus on. And that's why this step is going to be every bit as important as the heavy correction stages. And that's us on to the refining. Now, thankfully, because we were working with a lot of foam with this car, we did have to use microfiber in certain areas, but predominantly foam-based and spending long times on the sets. It meant that we're not really dealing with any micromarring or any machine-induced defects, so we can focus on the thing that's going to make your jaw drop when you see this car sitting outside in the natural sunlight, and that is going to be the finish. So we're going to jump in with real soft finishing pads, black hex logics, and then just spend the time really breaking down a fine finishing polish to just take this gloss up to a whole different level again. And then we can move on to the final finishing stages, which there's quite a lot of in this. As I said, it's a bit of a mini resto. We've a lot of parts to fit to this car. We've a lot of interior detailing to do with it, and then laying down that all-important protection. Definitely a long process, probably still another 2 full days work ahead at this point. But thankfully we've got Stevie to help me with it all. Let's get cracking and see how it turns out. The refining stages are all complete. It really was worth spending that extra time because it's just transformed the finish of this car, and that's what's going to make the impression. If you can't get the paint correction to the level that you ideally would want it, focusing on the finish is a great way of drastically improving the visual effect of the car. So now it's into the final finishing stages of the car, and there's quite a bit still to do in all honesty. First things first, we're going to get all the tape off the car that was protecting all of that plastic trim and rubber trim, etc. And then we're going to restore that trim back to good health again. We have 2 bumper corners and the edges of the car that are there as replacements, so we'll get those fitted, and then we're going to treat all of the trim in this car with C4. It's just going to bring it completely back to life again. It's going to make such a difference on the car, especially when there is so much plastic, particularly around the front of an E30 with all those grills and stuff. It's really, really going to sharpen up the appearance of it. With a new bonnet badge to fit, and then interior detail is going to be pretty extensive in this, and then we've some new parts to fit in there, a new steering wheel, a new gear knob, gaiters for both the gear knob and the handbrake, some nice new mats, and then just giving the car a real good thorough clean. We'll pull the wheels off, do a little bit of arch work in around there, just tighten up a little bit. It has been under sealed, so really we're just going to, at this point, blast out any of the dirt that's maybe remaining after the wash process, and just make sure it's really clean and there's nothing really there to promote rust going forward. And then all the final finishing bits and laying down the ceramic protection. I'm really looking forward to seeing this finished. I cannot wait to see it out in the daylight. That's when this car is really, really going to make your jaw drop. So probably another few days work ahead, who knows? Let's get cracking. the little E30 all buttoned up, so there's just one thing left to do, and let's show you guys it finished. Doesn't that look awesome sitting out in the natural light? The owner's going to be pretty happy with that, I'm sure. It turned out really nice and is a drastic transformation from the car that got dropped off. The challenge with doing a car like that is, where do you draw the line? You know, there was more of the car that could have been painted, there was more that could have been done, but the fact is, it was a car that had been used its whole life, and it's going to continue to be used like that. The owner's planning on using this quite a bit, daily in it, and well, you just have to draw the line. Sure, the car could have went for a full bare metal respray, but it's not going to be that usable, fun, enjoyable classic that the owner intended whenever he bought the vehicle. So that was the sort of limit and the sort of level of detail that you would go to that would get the car that it looks incredible, but not to the point that it's just going to not make it usable and that you're going to be worried about the car picking up blemishes and marks and, you know, corrosion setting in, and end up it's going to get tucked up in a bubble and doing nothing. So this is taking it to a place where it can be driven and enjoyed, and that's really what I'm all about here. That's one of our mottos, is cleanse, revive, protect and drive. And drive being the thing. That's what cars are for. They'll be there to be enjoyed. And we're just about to embark on a similar process ourselves with our own new project car behind us. That's going to be the next video you see up after this one. We'll do a little bit of an introduction to it. But I'm all about using and enjoying my cars. And as much as, you know, I can appreciate and enjoy doing concours preparation, taking a car to as pristine as it can physically be. For me, cars are for driving and enjoying. We're going to be doing the exact same process with this M3 as well, which is I'm going to get the car really nice, but not to the point that I won't use it. You know, if I get caught out in the wet in it, who cares? It can be washed, it can be, you know, got back to a nice shape again. It's going to have all the important protection on it. So that's really our ethos, and that's why doing a job like that E30, it's nice to see that that also resonates with owners as well, where they actually want to use their cars. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the comments or send us a PM on any of our socials. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one.